Snow fell thick and heavy as Sarah drove deeper into the mountains. The road was narrow, barely visible beneath the white blanket. Trees leaned inward on both sides, their branches bending under the weight of ice, like they were trying to close in around her. The windshield wipers moved back and forth, fighting a losing battle. Snow stuck to the glass almost as fast as it was wiped away. Her phone sat useless on the passenger seat. No signal, no GPS. That had disappeared almost an hour ago. This was a terrible idea, Sarah whispered. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Her knuckles were white, her hands stiff with cold and nerves. She hadn't planned to come here in winter. She hadn't planned to come here at all. But her father was dead, 3 months gone, buried in frozen ground not far from the city. The lawyer had been clear. The cabin needed to be emptied before winter ended. If not, the property would be sold to cover debts. Sarah hadn't been to the cabin since she was 12. That was 15 years ago. She tried not to think about why. The trees suddenly opened up and the cabin appeared through the falling snow. Her chest tightened. It looked smaller than her memory. Older. The wooden walls were dark, nearly black with age and moisture. Snow covered the roof like a heavy shroud. One window on the side was broken, glass missing completely. The rest were dark, empty, watching her. The place felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. Sarah parked and grabbed her bags. The wind hit her face hard, sharp as needles. She hurried to the front door, boots crunching in deep snow. The door groaned loudly when she pushed it open, the sound echoing through the silent woods. Inside, the air was stale and cold. Dust coated every surface. Furniture stood exactly where she remembered it, covered in gray sheets like forgotten bodies. She flipped the light switch. Nothing. Of course, Sarah sighed and pulled out her flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the small living room, the old table, the familiar couch. Everything looked frozen in time. On the wall, the calendar still hung. 2010. Her stomach twisted. That was the year her mother disappeared. Sarah looked away quickly. She wasn't here for memories. She was here to pack, sleep one night, and leave. As she laid out her sleeping bag, she heard something outside. A faint sound. Scratching. She froze. Slowly, she walked to the window and wiped away the frost with her sleeve. The lake behind the cabin was completely frozen. Snow covered the ice, smooth and untouched, except for something in the center. A dark shape. Tall, thin, standing upright. A person. The figure faced the cabin, perfectly still. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She blinked. The figure was gone. Her heart pounded. "You're tired," she told herself. That's all. But her hands were shaking. Night came fast. No moon, no stars, just endless black beyond the windows. Sarah ate cold food from a can and sat close to the fireplace, even though there was no fire. The silence pressed in around her. Every creak of the cabin made her flinch. She went upstairs to the bedroom. It was small, with one bed and a narrow closet. She spread her sleeping bag on the mattress and lay down fully clothed. The wind howled outside, rattling the walls. She closed her eyes. Tap. Her eyes snapped open. Tap, tap. Someone was knocking on the front door. Her heart raced. "Hello?" she called. No answer. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, calm, patient. Sarah grabbed her flashlight and went downstairs. The knocking stopped as she reached the door. She opened it. Cold air rushed inside. The porch was empty. Snow lay smooth and untouched. No footprints, no marks. Sarah slammed the door shut and locked it. Her breathing came fast and shallow. Later, lying awake upstairs, she heard footsteps. Inside the cabin. Slow, wet, heavy. They crossed the living room. Then the stairs creaked. Step, step, step. The sound stopped outside her bedroom. The handle turned. Sarah couldn't scream. She waited, shaking, until the sound stopped. When she opened the door, the hallway was empty. Downstairs, she saw them. Wet footprints in the dust, bare feet. They led from the door to her bedroom. They did not go back. Morning came gray and weak. Sarah hadn't slept. She rushed outside, ready to leave. Her car was gone beneath deep snow. The road had vanished completely. She was trapped. Inside, she found old photos on the wall. One showed her mother standing on the frozen lake, smiling softly. Sarah remembered that day. Her mother standing still on the ice listening, then scratching, screaming about voices under the ice. That night she vanished. As the sun set, Sarah looked out the window. The dark figure stood on the lake again. Closer now. A woman. Her mother. She raised her arm and pointed. Down. Sarah locked herself in the living room. Her back pressed against the door, breath shaking. The scratching outside the cabin had stopped, but that silence felt worse. Like the lake itself was listening. She needed answers. Not guesses. Not memories twisted by fear. Her hands moved on their own, opening drawers, digging through old shelves. That was when she found it. Her father's journal, hidden beneath a loose floorboard near the fireplace. The cover was worn soft from years of use. Sarah sat on the floor and opened it. The early entries were normal. Repairs, weather notes, small complaints about the cold. Then the handwriting changed. The words grew tighter, more frantic. Mary says the lake speaks to her at night. Sarah swallowed. She says something lives beneath the ice. Something older than the forest. Something trapped. Her fingers trembled as she turned the page. She stands at the window for hours, listening. When I ask what she hears, she says it's calling her name. Sarah remembered those nights. Her mother standing still, staring out into the dark. I tried to keep her away from the lake. She cries when I stop her. Says I don't understand. Says it promised her rest, peace, freedom. Another page. She told me tonight that the lake needs a keeper. One soul must stay below, holding the others back. In return, one may leave. A trade. Sarah's chest tightened painfully. The next entry was dated 3 days later. Mary is gone. The back door was open. Footprints led to the lake but stopped at the ice. No cracks, no hole. She vanished. Her father's handwriting shook here. I think she went beneath the ice. I think she made the trade. Sarah closed the journal slowly. A soft sound came from outside. She looked up. Figures stood on the frozen lake. Not one. Many. Tall shapes. Thin shapes. All facing the cabin. All completely still. Then together they began to move. The scratching returned. Not just at the door. At the walls. The windows, the roof. Like fingernails on wood. Glass shattered downstairs. Something climbed inside. Wet footsteps spread across the floor. Sarah ran upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, and pushed the bed against it. The scratching grew louder, surrounding her. Wood splintered. Windows burst inward. A pale hand reached through the broken glass. Then another. The door exploded open. They poured inside. Figures dripping black water, skin pale and stretched tight, eyes empty and dark. They moved wrong like bodies pulled by unseen strings. Cold hands grabbed Sarah's arms, her shoulders, her hair. She screamed, but the sound vanished into the noise of wind and breaking glass. The figures parted. Someone stepped forward. Her mother. She looked exactly as Sarah remembered. Same face, same hair, same sad eyes. But her skin was gray with cold, lips blue, ice clinging to her dress. Sarah, she said softly. You came back. Tears burned Sarah's eyes. Mom, please. I didn't want this for you, her mother said. But I can't stay down there anymore. She explained everything. The lake was a prison. Beneath the ice lived things that could not walk the world freely. The keeper stayed below, holding them back. When her mother grew desperate, the lake offered a trade. She went beneath the ice. Something else wore her face. Her father realized too late and killed it. With the replacement gone, the prison needed another keeper. Her mother stepped closer. It has to be blood. That's the rule. The figures dragged Sarah outside. Snow fell thick and silent. They carried her onto the ice. It cracked beneath her feet. Below, dark shapes moved in freezing water. Hands reached up. The lake must always have someone, her mother whispered. I'm sorry. The ice broke. Sarah fell. The cold was unbearable. Hands pulled her down. Darkness closed in. Above her, through the ice, she saw her mother turn and walk away. The lake sealed shut. Sarah became still, waiting. David raised his rifle, eye pressed to the scope. The deer 50 yards away grazed on frozen grass. A perfect shot. His finger trembled over the trigger. Then movement behind the deer caught his eye, something big, white. He squinted through the trees. Nothing. The deer remained unaware. David had hunted these mountains for 30 years. He knew every tree, every ridge. Yet today something felt wrong. The forest was too quiet. No birds, no small animals, just the cold stillness. His hunting partner, Tom, 25, crouched beside him. "Take the shot," he whispered. David hesitated. Then he saw it again. A stag, unlike any he'd ever seen. Its fur was pure snow, antlers sprawling like frosted branches, eyes glowing red in shadow. The deer bolted, but the white stag regarded David, and he felt his blood freeze. "Do you see that?" David whispered. Tom shook his head. "See what?" David blinked. The stag vanished. "It's gone. But it's real." They moved to check traps deeper in the forest. The first two were empty. The third destroyed, metal bent as if by some unimaginable force. Around it, enormous hoofprints led into the dark, dense forest. Tom's voice shook. What could do this? David knelt. Something not human. Tom wanted to follow, but David insisted they retreat. The woods felt alive, eyes watching. Then came a sound that made their blood run cold. A cry part elk, part human, echoing through the trees. "Run!" David shouted. They sprinted toward their truck. A mile from the forest, David slowed only to see it. The white stag blocking the road. Antlers spread wide, red eyes burning, steam rising in the cold. David reversed, but the creature charged. The truck crumpled, rolling down the mountainside. Darkness swallowed David. Pain tore through David as he woke. His leg was broken. His head pounded. 30 feet from him lay the wrecked truck, Tom motionless inside. Blood coated his friend's face. He was dead. A shadow loomed, red eyes burning in the night. The stag turned and vanished into the forest. David crawled, leaving a trail of blood in the snow. Toward smoke rising in the distance, a cabin. The door opened to an old man, Jacob, gray-haired, bearded, wearing animal furs. He pulled David inside, splinted his leg, and warmed him by the fire. "You saw it," Jacob said quietly. "Yes, it killed my friend." Jacob's eyes were haunted. "Then you're marked." "Marked?" "The white stag hunts those who break the forest's sacred laws, kills everyone close to them. There's no escape." David recalled shooting a pregnant doe weeks ago. Guilt tightened in his chest. Jacob produced a small carved stone. "This is a summoning stone. With it, at midnight on the winter solstice, we can lure it into a circle of salt and silver and kill it." David nodded. "Tonight." Jacob hesitated. "I've tried 3 times. I failed. It's clever. Too fast. I have to try. I have a family." Jacob finally agreed. "Then let's prepare." They prepared in the fading daylight. 50-foot salt circle, silver spikes at exact points, the stone glowing faintly at the center. David limped, broken leg throbbing, but fear kept him moving. The white stag watched from the forest's edge, aware. "It knows," David whispered. "Of course," Jacob said. "It thinks it cannot be trapped." At 11:59, the stone pulsed bright blue. From the trees came the stag's roar, part human, part beast, echoing through the snow. It stepped into the clearing, antlers glowing, eyes burning hate. "You think this will work?" It mocked, voice grinding like ice. Jacob waited. The stag paused at the salt line. Slowly, arrogantly, it crossed into the circle. David and Jacob fired silver bullets. The creature screamed, thrashing. The salt glowed, spikes hummed with power. The stag's red eyes dimmed with pain. "It's dying!" David shouted. But the stag's laughter persisted, weak but mocking. "Kill me and you become me," it wheezed. "Always has been, always will be." Jacob read the ancient instructions by moonlight. Whoever kills the Winter King becomes the next Winter King. The stag dissolved into white mist. A terrible cold spread through David's body. The curse had taken hold. Pain and frost burned through David, twisting his body. Bones reshaped, antlers sprouted, hooves formed. Colors sharpened, smells and sounds intensified. Hunger, a terrible, endless hunger, flooded him. "Fight it!" Jacob shouted. But David could not resist. His human mind faintly lingered just enough to give Jacob a chance. He counted to 10, and fully transformed into the white stag. Jacob barricaded himself. David could smell his fear, his warmth. The human part screamed, but the curse was stronger. He smashed through the door, red eyes blazing, antlers ready to strike. Jacob fired silver bullets. They burned, slowed him, but did not stop him. He rammed Jacob, Blood spilled across the cabin floor. "There's a way to end it," Jacob whispered, dying. "Starve it. Don't kill anyone. The curse dies when you do." David, still a creature of hunger and power, felt the final pull of humanity. He did not strike again. Jacob died. David transformed back into human form, kneeling over his friend's lifeless body. The snow outside glistened in early dawn. He understood. He was alone, cursed, a new winter king. The White Stag lived through him now. David buried Jacob behind the cabin before dawn. By sunrise, the curse was already pulling at him, urging him toward the nearest town, toward blood. He remembered Jacob's warning. If he never killed again, the curse would starve. So David stayed. Days passed, then weeks. He did not hunt. He did not eat. The hunger clawed at him, tearing at his mind. Every night the curse forced him to transform into the White Stag. He ran through the forest in agony, circling endlessly, refusing to go near human trails. He killed nothing. The curse weakened. So did David. Months blurred together. His body wasted away. His thoughts fractured. Sometimes he dreamed of his wife and daughter. He hoped they believed he was dead. That would be kinder. Nearly a year later, the curse finally began to fail. David felt it shudder inside him, starving, desperate. But his body was failing too. He lay in the cabin, barely breathing, whispering for strength to hold on just a little longer. Then voices came through the forest. 2 hikers opened the cabin door. The curse surged awake, sensing prey. David tried to warn them as his body twisted, antlers tearing through his skull. "Run," he begged. They fled screaming. The White Stag chased them faster than thought. David knew the truth. If he killed again, the curse would live on for another century. So he made his final choice. He turned and ran straight into a massive pine tree. Bones shattered. His body collapsed into the snow, returning to human form as life drained away. The curse screamed inside him, trying to heal him, but the damage was too great. The hunger faded. The cold loosened its grip. David smiled as he stared up at the stars. He had ended it. Not by surviving, but by refusing to let the curse feed. The White Stag was dead. The Winter King had fallen, and the curse was finally gone. David's last thought was of his family. He hoped they would remember him as he was. Then the darkness took him, and he was at peace. Michael's truck rattled over the last stretch of highway before Winter Hollow. The sun was fading, the sky a bruised purple, heavy clouds low enough to scrape the treetops. Snowflakes had begun to drift lazily, but the weather report had promised more. Blizzard conditions within the hour. He still had nearly 100 miles to go, but he needed gas and food. Winter Hollow was the only stop in miles. The town appeared dead. Rows of buildings, most dark, some crumbling, some shuttered for years. Only a few windows glowed weakly like tired eyes. The sign at the edge of town creaked in the wind. "Welcome to Winter Hollow, population 247. Even in the fading light, it seemed to mock him with its emptiness. He pulled into the only gas station, an old, boxy building with a flickering fluorescent light. Inside, an elderly man stood behind the counter, staring at him with cold, pale blue eyes. His hair was white, thinning, and his hands rested on the counter like claws. "Cutting it close," the man said. His voice was low, almost a growl. "Storm will hit in less than an hour." "I know," Michael said, forcing calm. "Just need gas." The old man shook his head. "Road north closes fast. You won't make it." Michael glanced around. "Is there a motel?" "Winter Hollow Inn," the man said slowly, pausing. Then he leaned closer. "But I'd better leave now, before dark." Michael frowned. "You just said the road would close." The man shrugged, his expression unreadable. "Better to be stuck on the road than stuck here." Michael left the gas station with unease. The wind had started to pick up, carrying icy needles of snow that cut across his cheeks. The inn was a 2-story structure with peeling paint, a flickering neon vacancy sign, and a smell of damp and mildew that hit him before he even opened the door. Inside, a young woman sat behind the front desk. Claire, blonde hair tied loosely, eyes tired and wary. She looked startled when he entered. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "It's not safe." Before he could ask why, A large bearded man appeared from a side door, his eyes sharp and suspicious. Claire's shoulders slumped. "Room 7, she said, her hands trembling. The wind howled outside as Michael climbed the narrow stairs. The room was small, old, and cold. Stains marked the carpet and the furniture sagged with age. His phone had no signal. The TV showed nothing but static. Then he heard it. Faint at first, then growing. Children laughing. He drew the curtain back. Barely clothed children ran through the snow outside. Their movements swift, their laughter shrill. One little girl turned and looked up at him. Her teeth were sharp, her eyes unnaturally dark. Then all of them turned their gaze toward him, grinning. In a blink, they were gone. The street was empty. Sleep was impossible. Every time Michael closed his eyes, he saw those dark, smiling faces. 3 soft knocks came at midnight. Claire. She appeared at the door, her hands shaking. "You saw them, didn't you?" she whispered. "The children." She told him the story. 50 years ago, a school bus had skidded off the road into a frozen river during a blizzard. 23 children had died. The parents, grief-stricken, sought out a woman in the woods who practiced dark magic. They demanded she bring their children back. She did, but they returned wrong. Hollow, cold, hungry. That first night, they killed the parents who had resurrected them. "And every winter since?" Michael asked, horrified. "They return for strangers," Claire said. "Visitors. People who don't belong. They play first. Then they take them. Under the snow. To somewhere beyond." Claire had been trapped in Winter Hollow for 2 years, trying to survive every winter. Leaving was impossible. Roads would turn back. Townsfolk would redirect her. The storm would trap her. "There is one way," she said quietly. "The witch who cursed them still lives in the woods. If we can find her, maybe she can help end it." They left the inn quietly, moving through the increasing storm. Snow whipped against their faces, soaking through gloves and coats. Tiny footprints led away from the town. Children's footprints. Voices rose on the wind, singing a twisted nursery rhyme. "Come and play in the winter snow. Come with us where the cold wind blows. We'll hold you tight and never let go. Come and die in the winter snow." Shapes moved in the storm. Flickers at the edges of vision, rushing closer. Claire pulled Michael forward, ignoring the screaming cold in his lungs. They plunged into the forest, trees black and skeletal against the white. Branches snapped behind them. Snow crunched under invisible feet. The laughter and singing grew louder, closing in. The footprints stopped abruptly in a clearing. Michael gasped, exhausted, numb from the cold. Above, on a thick branch, an old woman watched. Frost clung to her long, dark coat, her hair white as snow, eyes black as night. "The snow children cannot enter these woods," she said softly, then descended with unnatural grace. Claire recognized her immediately. "You're the witch." "I am what remains of her," the woman said. She spoke like ice cracking. "You seek to end the curse." Michael stepped forward. "Can you?" The witch laughed, a brittle, dangerous sound. "I created it. I can undo nothing, unless someone takes the place of the children. Becomes the keeper of the curse." Claire's face hardened. "I'll do it." "No," Michael protested. "I've survived 2 winters trapped here," Claire said. "This way the children can rest and my suffering will finally have meaning." The witch handed her a small bottle of white liquid. Claire drank. Frost overtook her skin. Her hair whitened, her eyes rolled back. She rose, leaving no footprints in the snow, disappearing into the woods. The children's laughter ceased. The storm softened. Michael watched, numb. Claire had become the new guardian. Dawn broke. Michael returned to the town. The inn, once standing, was now nothing but a rotting husk abandoned for decades. The gas station was open, but the old man looked at him blankly. "Survived, huh?" he muttered. I stayed at the inn," Michael said. "There was a woman there, Claire." The old man shook his head. "I don't know any Claire. Nothing has been open in years." Michael drove away slowly, feeling the quiet of the empty town press in around him. At the edge of the woods, he glimpsed a figure with white hair. Claire. She raised a hand, silently watching, then vanished. The storm was over. Winter Hollow seemed peaceful, almost pretty, but Michael knew better. Claire still walked the woods, keeping the curse contained. 10 years passed. Michael tried to forget Winter Hollow. telling his wife he had stayed in a regular motel. But every winter, when the first heavy storm came, he thought of Claire, of her sacrifice, of the snow children. Then exactly 10 years later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a single line, shaky and cold. "Come back. I'm so cold." He drove north without explanation. Roads were long and empty. Winter Hollow awaited, silent, more dead than before. Buildings crumbled. Even the gas station had closed. In the woods, Michael found Claire, pale frozen tears on her cheeks, her eyes hollow and filled with pain. "The witch lied," she said. "I feel it all. Every moment. The cold burns like fire. I can't stop. The only way," she whispered, "someone else must take my place." Michael hesitated, then took her frozen tears into his mouth. Cold stabbed through his body like knives. Frost spread over his skin. Pain, fear, and death coursed through him. Claire's color returned. She ran back toward life, human again. Michael rose, changed, bound to the winter. The curse now in his bones. The children laughed around him, not hunting, just playing, free. Michael walked into the snow, forever a guardian. The winter closed around him, silent but alive, and he vanished into the cold.